Welcome back to Homesteading with the Zimmermans, where we work hard and play hard on our little corner of land in Iowa. My husband and I were born and raised Old Order Mennonite, or horse and buggy Mennonite, as some refer to them as. And although we are no longer part of that culture or community, we are intentional about passing on the old-fashioned skills of our childhood to the next generation. Hello! In today's video, we are going to be using up some zucchini. And as you can tell, it is very warm here in northern Iowa. And because we're currently in the middle of an outdoor remodel project, we don't have our central air hooked up because it needs to be moved. So, we are suffering through the heat, and it really is only really warm in the very middle of the day. It's nice and cool in the morning, and then again in the evening it cools off very nice. So first of all, getting my apron on, and in case you didn't know, you can buy the pattern for this apron. I'll put the link in the description, and I have a full-length video showing how to sew it. And the other big thing is I finally figured out my wireless mic. So this will make editing a whole lot easier for me. So zucchini. Doesn't matter if you have one zucchini plant, you are at one time going to have too many zucchinis. Now my zucchinis are planted down behind the barn on my compost pile. And because they were kind of an afterthought, my family's not super crazy over zucchini, so I don't make it a priority crop. But they were an afterthought. They are not ready yet. But because I know that most of you are probably already drowning in zucchinis, I ran to my neighbors and I bought some zucchini. And the only other thing you need, some pineapple juice, 100% pineapple juice, some lemon juice, and some sugar, and we are going to turn these zucchinis into canned pineapples that you can use wherever you would use pineapples in a recipe. And it's so simple to do, I don't even know if I'll be able to get enough footage to make an entire YouTube video. But if that's the case, I will also make some pineapple upside down cake and share that recipe with you as well. So it's that time of year where the shelves in our basement have more empty jars on than full jars. And the kids are, when they bring the jars down, they're supposed to put all the quart jars on one shelf, all the pint jars on the other shelf, and then the 2-quart jars on a different shelf. But as each shelf fills up, they just kind of start putting them wherever there's room. So it's my job to see if I can find pint jars to can this pineapple zucchini. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to wash up all our pint jars that we want to use. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to peel our zucchinis, because the peels they'll taste a little bitter and rubbery after they're canned. So I honestly don't mind not having any AC. Even when our air conditioner is working, we only use it maybe 2 weeks out of the summer. And the only time we really use it is when temperatures go into the 90s and the temperatures don't drop far enough at night to allow us to get a good night of sleep. I think the average number of days that we have with temperatures in the 90s are between 6 and 8 days each summer. So on the other days, I really enjoy having my windows open and feeling the breeze from the outdoors. And if you've ever been in Iowa, you know that there's almost a constant breeze. So I really don't mind having my windows open and listening to all the outdoor sounds. Okay, so you might be thinking, why does your family not like zucchini? Neither my husband or I grew up eating a lot of zucchini, so it's not usually a priority crop. However, the tromboncino squash is an heirloom variety of squash, and that is the kind I've decided to plant this year. And here's why. The tromboncino squash can be used as a summer squash when you pick it at its immature stage. And reviews and people tell me that it's even sweeter than zucchini. And then if you let it mature, it will cure and be more like a butternut squash, like a winter squash, and you can actually keep it. You can store it as a winter squash, and you can use it as a winter squash, and some people use it to feed to their pigs in the winter to help keep their feed costs down. So that is why I decided not to plant the traditional zucchinis this year and go with that tromboncino squash, because that way I won't feel so pressured to use all of them before they get too big, and I can just leave them, let them cure, and then I can store them, and we can use them in the winter as winter squash, or I can feed them to the pigs. So now that you have peeled your zucchinis, you're gonna dice them. And these zucchinis are perfect, but if you've let yours get bigger and there's lots of seeds in them, you can just scoop those seeds out. And I'm sure your chickens would be happy for those seeds. The bigger zucchinis definitely don't stay as firm in the jars though. You can also shred your zucchinis and they'll be more like shredded pineapple then, but we like ours like diced pineapple. So then we spend time looking for our measuring spoons, and I'm trying to think, which child's chore is it this week to put away clean dishes? Because if I remember which child puts away clean dishes, I might be able to remember where that child may have put the measuring spoons. Okay, so it's a known fact that zucchinis will take on the flavor of whatever you cook them with. So, if you want them to taste like sausage, you cook them with sausage. If you want, you can add any spice you want, and that's what your zucchini is going to taste like. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to take these zucchinis and we're going to can them in pineapple juice. And we don't have to pressure can them. Even though zucchini is a low acid food, the pineapple juice and the lemon juice that we're adding have enough acid in them where you actually can water bath them and you do not have to pressure can them. So that's one of the reasons this is so simple. So a lot of your pineapple zucchini recipes are going to ask you to put your zucchini and your pineapple juice and your sugar all together in a pot and boil that for 20 minutes. But I don't actually do that. My zucchinis turn to mush when I do that. So I put the zucchinis raw into my jar, add all my ingredients, and then I can them a bit longer than most recipes ask for. But that's the way that I've found that my zucchinis don't turn to mush, and you have a nice solid chunk of zucchini that identifies as pineapple when you're done. So to each jar, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. The sugar will all dissolve during the water bath process. You can add less sugar if you want to. The pineapple juice is plenty sweet, but I add 2 tablespoons to bring it as close to the canned pineapple recipes that we were used to. After the sugar, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I know that I made a big mess with that lemon juice, but that's nothing new for me. I am a mess in the kitchen, but I always clean up my own messes, so it's okay. Now that I'm an adult, always clean up my own messes. Nobody needs to worry about it. So now that you have your sugar and your lemon juice in there, you're going to fill the rest of the jar up with pineapple juice. And you're going to fill it all the way up to the neck of the jar. So now we're just going to wipe the rims of the jars. And of course, we're going to be using my favorite canning lids. And don't forget to check the description for the link to buy your canning lids and also for a discount code. Oh, I don't sanitize my lids. They're going to be in boiling water for over 20 minutes. Things are going to be sanitized. The only time I boil my lids is if I'm reusing canning lids. Like if I have some from another year and I'm reusing them. It's the only time I sanitize them. So now you're just gonna turn them finger tight. So now I'm putting my zucchini into my water bath canner. And because everything in the jars is room temperature, we're going to have room temperature water that we add. You always want your temperature of your water to be the same as the temperature of the product in your jar. So I bring the water line up to the same spot on the jars where the product line is. So all the way up until about that bottom rim. And then we're going to turn the burner on. So no, I do not cover my jars ever with water when I water bath can them. It's not the way I was taught. It's not the way my grandma did, not the way my mom did. They taught me that if you put too much water in, your product is going to seep out and it will actually affect your seal rate. I personally canned all my life without covering my jars with water. And I didn't even know that some people do cover their jars with water until about 5 years ago when I started seeing canning videos on Instagram. And I was like, whoa, why are they covering their jars with water? Turns out that is the way all the government recommended canning recipes tell you to can. But it's not the way I was taught. And I've been canning for 20 some years on my own, and many years before that with my mom and my grandma, and I've never seen them cover their jars with water. We just bring it up to the product line and that's it. So now that my pineapple zucchinis are boiling, we are going to set the timer for 25 minutes. so now that our zucchinis have boiled for 25 minutes, we are going to remove them. And now we're just going to let them sit and cool. So while I'm stuck in the kitchen babysitting my canner, I am going to make a pineapple upside down cake just like Grandma used to, and I'm actually going to use some of last year's pineapple canned zucchini to make this so that I don't have to wait till those are done and cooled. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drain these. So we're just going to let these strain for a while. The next thing I've got is half a cup of butter, and this butter's still frozen because I didn't have any more butter in my refrigerator, so I had to use frozen butter. And we're going to put this half a cup of butter in my 350-degree oven and melt it in the pan. So now that our butter is melted, we're going to put the brown sugar in there. That's 1 1/3 cups of brown sugar. And then we're going to put our 2 pints of drained pineapple zucchini. So we've got 2 2/3 cups of flour. We've got 2 cups of sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to mix all our dry ingredients together. Add 2/3 cup of oil. I'm using my 1/3 cup measuring cup because I'm not sure where my 2/3 cup one is. You want 1 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And I will put in the description, I will put how to make your own sour milk if you don't have cultured milk or buttermilk on hand. You want 2 eggs. You want a teaspoon of vanilla. And you're just going to mix this all together. And then you're just going to put your batter right on top of your pineapple mixture. Put it into our oven. And this time we're going to set our timer for 55 minutes. And then we're going to come and check on it. Usually it bakes for close to an hour. But I'm just going to set it for 55 minutes and then come check on it. I guess most of the chickens are in here in the barn where it's nice and cool.
I let them out.
You let them out?
Yeah. The dogs took the water I gave them.
So it seems that a lot of my brain space as a mother these days is used to keep the boys in work. It seems that the 3 little boys need at least 50% of the day to be made up of structure and chores and important jobs to keep them from becoming bored and irritable. The other 50% of the day, they usually are just fine playing and using their imagination to entertain themselves. And since they don't yet work very well on their own, it means that 50% of their day means that I am working right there with them. You've heard it said that play is the work of children, but by the time they get to this age, they do need some structured work and feeling of value in order to be inspired to play. For more on the value of childhood chores, see the link to my ebook in the description. So our timer went. Now we're just gonna check. Yep, the knife comes out clean, so this cake is done. So that's all for this week, and thank you all for watching. Don't forget to check for the links to your recipes and anything else I mentioned in the description. And until next week, we will be right here on our little corner of land, taking care of our garden, milking our cows, making cheese, and all the other happy homesteading things.